It's Sunday, March 5th, 2023, and we're set up at the Bering Avenue grade crossing along CSX's former Baltimore and Ohio Chicago Terminal Barr Subdivision in East Chicago, Indiana. Besides being one of the first spots I personally learned to love trains, Bering Avenue is located at the east end of CSX's small Peiguss yard, a small industry yard that serves several businesses up and down the Barr Sub. Before anything gets moving in the yard, CSX intermodal train I-171 off the BNSF makes an eastbound appearance tearing through town. CSX job Y126, a bar yard-based yard crew that can do just about anything, occasionally transfers industry traffic here to Peiguss Yard. Power for today's Y126 is CSX 2009, which is a rebuilt EMD GP38-3. The unit was originally built as Conrail GP38-2, number 8215, in the summer of 1978. We'll head over to Hammond in the west end of Peiguss Yard and await the locals' departure back to Barr Yard. The old B&OCT main is CSX's eastward main line out of Chicago and can become quite busy with rail traffic. Manifest M566, which at the time of filming was a daily manifest running from Barr Yard to Cleveland, Ohio, is tearing the north side of Hammond in half as they make their way east. The electrified main line of the South Shore flies over the Barr Sub at this location just west of Columbia Avenue. With no outbound cars to take back with them this Sunday, the Y126 can return light to Barr Yard. We'll catch a plethora of other interesting yard jobs, short lines, EMDs, and more as we explore the ghosts of the B&OCT in and around East Chicago. few weeks later, we've made our way west to Riverdale, Illinois, just east of Barr Yard on an unseasonably hot 82-degree April Saturday morning. Another Y-126 is switching BWC terminals, one of several active shippers along the Barr Subdivision. A rather ratty-looking industrial spur line along Michigan Avenue provides the terminal access to rail shipping. While the local continues working BWC, we catch train M565, the reverse of the M566 we saw at Hammond. Power on the M565 this morning are a G AC4400CW followed by an elusive CSX-9. The train is now on yard trackage and will crawl the rest of their way into Barr Yard. With their work complete and M565 out of the way, the Y126 tiptoes back toward the Barr Subdivision with additional industry traffic bound for businesses around Dalton just east of here. The CSX 90057 has certainly earned its keep and then some throughout its career on both the CSX and chassis system. It's hard to imagine the sheer number of stories this caboose could tell. We'll head west of here to the small town of Dixmoor and chase another Y126 working up the CSX Chicago Heights branch. The Chicago Heights branch also pays heritage to the B&O, and at one time even saw Indiana-bound trackage rights trains off the Milwaukee Road. Times have long since changed, and the line is now used as a connecting route between the Barr Sub west of Barr Yard, the Indiana Harbor Belt main, as well as the former Grand Trunk Western Elston Subdivision for trains bound for CSX's Monon Subdivision. Today, the Y126 will be working some industries along the line. The branch is home to several online industries, one of which is Quality Metals, just out of frame behind the camera and where these gondolas are destined. The short train of gondolas will be left in the small siding here at Dixmoor to be spotted later, and the crew will run light engine to LB Steel, southeast of here in Harvey. CSX 2563 is the former LMN 4053, and the Jeep looks right at home navigating the urban jungles of Harvey. Just east of our last location is the railroad location of CJ, where the Chicago Heights subdivision meets the former Grand Trunk Western Elston subdivision. The light Y126 will have to wait for some other rail traffic in the form of CSX train IO29, which is a daily stack train destined for the Atlanta, Georgia Metro. The Y126 is now on the LB Steel Spur in the silhouette of a long-abandoned concrete elevator that has since earned the affectionate nickname of Harvey Castle. We've chased the train on foot the remaining 1,000 feet of their trip to catch them entering LB Steel. One gondola will be pulled back to Barr Yard this evening.
Yeah, bump ahead. Drop a pin. That'll do.
With their quick pickup complete, the Y126 can return to Barr Yard. Back on the Elston subdivision, the train returns west, ducking under the former Illinois Central main line and, of course, the shadow of Harvey Castle. Back on the Barr Subdivision at Dalton, a short Y126 with Peiguss yard traffic has just departed Barr Yard for their short run east. From here we'll shift focus back east to the epicenter of this video, Peiguss Yard. It's a gloomy March 2023 day as CSX job Y125, the daytime Monday through Friday Peiguss Yard job, is airing up a long train of outbounds for Barr Yard. Depending on the daily circumstances, the Y125 will sometimes run a transfer to Barr Yard themselves. Urban railroading is one of the key themes of this video and a sight you just don't see very often in the modern era. We glimpse a rare instance on the west lead of Peiguss Yard, which runs within feet of a dollar store parking lot. Crews have to manually open hand-throw switches at both ends of Peiguss to access the Barr Subdivision. We'll follow the train west and head back over to the South Shore flyover. A spring rain is beginning to fall across northwest Indiana as the Y125 begins their pull out of the yard. Power on today's Y125 is GP40-2 CSX number 6137, which is the former B&O 4147. This unit has undoubtedly passed this spot tens if not hundreds of times across its 53 years of continuous service. Out of the yard, the conductor will return to the head end after restoring the switch. We'll head over to the Hammond South Shore Station to catch the train one last time, getting up to track speed. You can never argue with the sound of an EMD 645 screaming its guts out. The short trip to Barr Yard is roughly 7.5 miles by rail from the west end of Peiguss Yard. It's now May. A Y-125 is returning from working Calumet lubricants not too far west of the state line in Burnham, Illinois. The Peiguss Yard transload is hard at work unloading steel products as the train slowly meanders their way east into the yard. East Chicago is home to 2 CSX transload facilities, those being this one within the yard, as well as a large transflow facility on the other side of the Barr Sub north of here. These transloads have for years made up a substantial amount of the traffic in and out of Peiguss Yard. The crew has cut off their train and will grab the cut of tank cars to the right, also destined for Calumet lubricants. The plant is located on a stub-ended branch line and thus necessitates separate trips daily out of Peiguss Yard. We've caught the eye of the exceptionally friendly conductor on the Y-125 this beautiful spring Friday. The trees are in bloom, the air is warm, life is, for a brief minute, perfect for everyone it seems. Peiguss Yard has since acquired the CSX 2009 we saw the Y-126 using back in April. With their train air-tested and ready to go, the Y-125 begins their pull. They will depart out of the east end of the yard this afternoon and begin their westward shove from here. Perhaps the crown jewel of Peiguss Yard is the yard's resident shoving platform, the CSX 900433. The caboose was hand-painted into a heritage B&OCT scheme in the late spring of 2013 and has been in captive Peiguss Yard service ever since. With their train on the move, the friendly conductor bids us one final farewell as the train continues its way west to Burnham. It's now mid-September. The summer of 2023 is just about come and gone as a late-running Y125 waits for a signal across state line to Burnham. Just west of here, the train will cross over onto the branched Calumet lubricants, timetabled as the Peiguss Industrial Track. We'll chase this evening's train to Burnham and watch them creep through the town's backyards. My last statement contained little exaggeration. The train is crawling right behind houses on Chippewa Avenue here in Burnham. Crossings have to be flagged here and trains are restricted to 5 miles per hour. This is old school railroading at its finest. The train has just about reached Calumet lubricants. The caboose will be cut off on a small pocket track within the plant and the tank cars will be spotted from there. (2769) is the former Conrail 8183. Back at East Chicago, we're just east of Peiguss Yard to catch a Y-125 returning from National Processing, a steel warehouse on the east side of town. No video of mine is complete without a stop at Pine Junction. It's the 4th of July 2023 as we catch a Y-125 returning to East Chicago from Kenwall Steel in Burns Harbor. The train is in a neck-and-neck race with CP-137 on the parallel NS Chicago line. For more Pine Junction and CP action, be sure to check out my videos on both the CP-KC merger as well as Pine Junction itself. Looking even further back in time to the fall of 2022, an extremely late Y-125 is about to cross the IHB main at Calumet with less than 30 minutes of working time. Another 2022 evening finds us back at Calumet Tower. A welded rail train is returning to East Chicago after dumping rail a good amount of the day east of here in Gary. Before the train can proceed west, traffic on the Indiana Harbor Belt will come first. Today's train has an active maintenance away crew on board who will slowly make their way back to East Chicago. We'll make a short chase of the train west of here. We've caught up with the train getting back underway at Bering Avenue in downtown East Chicago. Note the 5288 is equipped with an extremely rare Nathan K5 HLB air horn and is one of only 2 units on the CSX roster to have one. Instead of entering Peiguss Yard, the rail train will switch off the main on the north side of East Chicago and head up the CSX Whiting branch to tie down for the evening. Continuous welded rail trains are one of the more unique trains you can catch while trackside and require a good knowledge of train handling to be moved properly. Thousands of feet of pre-welded rail can be threaded through these special rack-equipped flat cars and unloaded with specialized equipment at the end of each train. A good amount of new rail was laid in Gary this warm Saturday, and in a few weeks' time, a full steel gang will go to work installing the new rail on the main. We'll catch the train one more time a mile north of here up the CSX Whiting branch. The Whiting branch has always held a special place in my heart. Growing up, my grandparents lived less than a block away from here, and when I wasn't swimming in their pool or enjoying Grandma's delicious cooking, I was sprinting down here to Walsh Avenue the second I heard a train horn. This is where I learned to love trains. This location is known as C Yard and is a small 6-track transfer yard. Another fully loaded rail train is awaiting the call to duty, but per the usual these days, the yard is quite barren otherwise. With their switches lined, the W026 eases its way into C Yard. When I was younger, it was always exciting when a big G made its way back here, and I still find it cool to this day. The 6-axle, 200-ton ES40DC Gevo looks very much out of place, rocking and rolling down the lightweight jointed rail of the Whiting branch. The train will be tied down back here, and both the maintenance of way and T&E crew will call it a night. The balance of the rail still on the train will be dumped on Monday. I found the train cool enough that I decided to press my luck after work on that following Monday and see if I could catch them again. It didn't take more than 10 minutes trackside for their headlight to appear on this damp and unseasonably chilly August evening. The maintenance of way crew have since dumped the rest of the remaining rail, and the train is now empty. Enjoy some excessive K5 HLB music as the W026 creeps up the Whiting branch at 145th Street. The train will once again tie down at Sea Yard for the night. Another crew will take the empty train toward Ohio and further points east for reloading early tomorrow morning. We've returned to Ash Street in Hammond on an extremely hot, humid, and hazy June 2023 Friday. An evening extra has been called to take a loaded rail train to the Whiting branch to free up track space in Barr Yard. Leading the train is CSX 9002, another venerable low-ditch light CSX-9. A full still gang has made their way to Sea Yard earlier today and has left equipment here for the long holiday weekend. Rather than pull north on the Whiting branch like we saw before, today's rail train has pulled east through East Chicago and is now shoving up the branch to have the lead unit facing south. C Yard and the Whiting branch are both shells of their former selves. At one time, the South Shore Freight made regular appearances back here, interchanging with CSX just about every day, as did the CSX locals out of Peiguss Yard, transfers to and from Barr Yard, and of course maintenance of way equipment and work trains. There were several instances I can recall of seeing three-way meets here back in the day, the South Shore meeting a Barr Yard transfer, all while a rail train or otherwise would be waiting hours on end to depart and head for the Barr Subdivision. All just fond memories now. The train will be tied down here for a few days, pending the need for rail elsewhere. At the time of recording, this is what I believe to be one of my last chances to see a 9000 series CSX unit in use. However, as of the spring of 2025, the CSX-9s are slowly returning to service once again. We're back on the Barr Sub at Todd Avenue east of Peiguss Yard for one more rail train, this time running a CSX train W019. Two veteran SD40-2s, the leader being the former Conrail 6375, are in charge of tonight's train. Note that this train consists of no unloading equipment or CSX rolling stock and is likely bound for interchange with another railroad west of here. This train will also head for the Whiting branch. It's early November 2022, and we'll be rolling the clocks back for daylight savings time this painfully chilly Saturday evening. Walsh Avenue on a cold and quiet evening. Definitely not the setting I have the most vivid and fond memories in back here, but unlike my nostalgia, the railroads know no seasons. A couple maintenance away gondolas were dumped back here months ago and continue to rot away. Thrust on the rails this evening tell you all you need to know about traffic levels here. Far from my memories of three-way meets, not much of anything anymore.
Two more.
Local wildlife has been spooked by the rail train shoving up the west leg of the Y. Like our last few trains, the train will be tied down here for a few days before continuing their trip west.
That'll do, we can stop, go get some switches.
With switches lined, the train continues their shove into C Yard. CSX 8435 was originally built as B&OCT 40 number 7593 in May of 1967 and has since been rebuilt to Dash 2 standards. Edgar Allan Poe and the like would have certainly appreciated this dull, dark, and soundless day with very low-hanging clouds, the perfect setting for the state of the Whiting Branch. And so it would seem that these would be among the last trains of hundreds I'd seen over my lifetime back here in my old stomping grounds. Against all odds, on July 8, 2024, the South Shore Freight revived their CSX interchange job to East Chicago. Due to CSX shifting interchange to run by way of the Belt Railway of Chicago, the last train to Sea Yard had run in early November 2017, just shy of 7 years prior to the recording of this video. We're set up at Bering Avenue on Thursday, July 11, 2024 to catch the 4th day of South Shore's new AF-12 job to East Chicago. We'll head to Sea Yard to see the same interchange job I grew up watching. The hard-working crew of engineer Mike Polk and conductor Jack Anderson will only have one 2-bay hopper to bring back east with them today, and as we'll see, some interesting switching maneuvers will be made to streamline the process. Cut off from their inbounds, the AF-12 will run around their train, pick up their end-of-train device, and return home, all under 30 minutes. End-of-train telemetry devices are what marked the end of the caboose era many years ago. These radio-equipped markers not only provide a bright red beacon at the end of trains at night, but send constant brake pressure data to the head end as well. The EOT has been armed, brakes have been set and released on the outbound hopper to ensure proper operation, and the AF-12 can continue on their way. We'll head east to Todd Avenue for a quick look at the train on the main.
Z50211, CSX 2007, go ahead. All done East Chicago, east leg of the Y bearing nav is restored for main track number 1, and we're ready to head east back to Miller when you can handle us, over. Alright, everything light and locked back for mainline 1 track movement, and just have the 1 car like you said, correct? That's affirmative, just 1. Alright, come on, east, signal indication. Okay to open up on arrival there, Miller. Call clear when switches are restored.
The train will make a quick 11-mile run on the CSX back to Miller and return to South Shore rails from there. Less than favorable signals on the CSX have allowed us another chance to get a look at both the train and a UH-60 Blackhawk overhead, 2.5 miles east at Control Point Klein. The following week, we catch a late-running westbound AF-12 at Klein on a blissfully warm midsummer evening. From here we'll head to the Miller commuter station for a look at the AF-12 on the South Shore side. Miller Station has changed substantially since our last visit 2 years ago. A gauntlet track lined away from the platform is always a good sign of a freight train on the South Shore. To the left of the main is the CSX connection track the AF-12 will use to access the Barr Subdivision. Since our last look at the South Shore, the double tracking has substantially broadened the curved downgrade off the CSX flyover at Lake Street, and freight trains no longer have speed restrictions over it. If you haven't already, be sure to check out my original South Shore freight video to get a look at a very different pre-construction Miller. With their train clear of the new Control Point 55 signal, the AF-12 can begin their shove onto the CSX connection track. On the CSX side, this track feeds into their Miller siding, an interchange point most commonly used to hand off coal trains to the South Shore bound for the steel mills at Burns Harbor. In July of 2024, the South Shore took delivery of 100 new covered coil cars, 50 being built by Greenbrier and the other 50 by National Steel Car. We'll take a quick minute to see some other freight trains at the new Miller station. It's now March of 2024 and just under 40 degrees colder outside. It doesn't take too long to see a signal lined off the CSX connection track. At the time, student engineer Jacob Moreno is at the helm of a CSX coal train that is currently shoving its way toward us out of the CSX Miller siding. These CSX coal trains were one move I neglected to show in my original South Shore video, but run several times weekly to and from Cleveland Cliffs to be used in the steelmaking process. Now completely onto the South Shore Main, the conductor will reboard the head end for their 8.5-mile run to Bailey and the steel mills at Burns Harbor. These trains typically begin life in the coal-rich mountains of West Virginia. Upon arriving at the steel mill, the coal will be heated in excess of 1,700 degrees Fahrenheit, burning off impurities and leaving behind an almost pure concentration of carbon known as coke. The coke burns much hotter than coal, at temperatures capable of both melting iron ore and removing oxygen, leaving behind the pure iron needed to produce steel. Not long after the extra coal train cleared, Job PF9 makes an appearance. This crew has spent the majority of this cold Saturday switching around Burns Harbor and are now transferring traffic to the city track at Goff, just west of here outside Miller. An approach signal for another westbound immediately after the PF9 warns us that a Saturday evening belt job is heading our way. At this point in time, the AF-12 job had not yet been established, and some of this BRC-bound train is likely bound for eventual CSX interchange for points east and south. Back to the AF-12. We've moved a block north up Lake Street from the South Shore main along the CSX in downtown Miller. The AF-12 is still on the shove and will head all the way to the east end of the siding at County Line before beginning their westward journey to East Chicago. Trains, pizza, and the beautiful sounds of Gary, Indiana. With their shove out of Miller siding complete, the 42-car AF-12, now running as train Z502 on the CSX, rips through Miller at track speed. Immediately following the AF-12, South Shore job PF9 had come west with an empty CSX coal train out of the mill for Miller siding. Talk about good timing. The train has already cleared the station and is now headed east onto the CSX connection track. Unlike the last CSX coal train we saw, today's has been set up to run one by one and has a rear DPU. It's now midwinter at East Chicago. Today, the AF-12 has a special high and wide move back to Burns Harbor. This 424,000-pound rolling pin is bound for one of the many casters at the Burns Harbor Mills. Longtime friends Sam Combs and Gideon Commance braved the cold with me this afternoon to catch the move too. In an effort to keep their engine facing short hood forward the whole trip, the AF-12 is backing up the west leg to the Whiting branch today. CSX 2003 was built new for the South Shore in 1981 and is equipped with a very loud Leslie RS-5T. With their short train aired and ready, the AF-12 departs Sea Yard for Burns Harbor. At 145th Street, the train creeps around the east leg of the Y to return to the Barr Sub. Some of my favorite memories will always be going back to being that 8-year-old train-obsessed kid begging his mom to walk down to Walsh Avenue on hot and humid summer evenings just to watch the trains. Summer evenings just like this one, 85 degrees, a setting hazy sun, enjoying life in the railroads. I don't have a time machine, and I can't take you back to that summer of 2010 with me, but the revival of the AF-12 and these chances to catch a few trains where I learned to love them can certainly get us close. To enjoy a few more train noises, the narration will end here. And as always, thanks for watching.